Vandag is Wêreld-diabetesdag en Sweet Life Diabetes Community medestigter en die voorsitter van die SA Diabetes Advocacy, Bridget McNulty, is vanoggend hier om met ons te gesels oor diabetes, meer bewusmaking te skep. Good morning, Bridget, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is, of course, a very important subject, as diabetes is one of the leading causes of death, not only in the world, but in South Africa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for letting me speak English. My Afrikaans is niet zo goed nie. It's like the only sentence I can properly say. It's a huge topic, and it's one that we should be talking about more. So diabetes in South Africa kills more women than anything else. It's the #1 killer of women and the second leading cause of death in South Africa, and it's not a lethal condition. We're talking about type 2 diabetes here, which affects 90% of people with diabetes. And if you're diagnosed early enough, it's preventable. And thereafter, it's manageable with medication and lifestyle, and it just shouldn't be killing anyone. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me here today so that we can talk about this. It's a big topic. And thank you for wearing blue. You both look fabulous.
It's our pleasure. It's nice to be part of the day. It's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful initiative. And I think something that everyone can join in. Let's first talk about the day and the initiative. Wearing blue today, everyone at school, if you can, or at work, wearing blue just to create awareness and start a conversation. That is what people should do today. Am I right?
That's all we're asking for. So it's called #WearBlueForDiabetes. And all we're asking is that people wear blue today. Take a photo of yourself, post it online with the #WearBlueForDiabetes. And it might seem like it's a small thing to do, right? Because you're just wearing a certain color. But what it does is it opens up conversations about diabetes. And it lets us share the symptoms, which I'm going to quickly throw in here.
Yes, please.
Everyone can remember them. There are 5 common symptoms of type 1 and type 2. And that is extreme thirst, needing to pee a lot, especially at night, feeling hungry all the time, exhaustion, and blurry vision. And in type 1, particularly in kids, you'll also find weight loss. That doesn't happen as much in type 2. But please, if you're wearing blue today and someone's like, right, you're wearing blue, you can say, I want to spread awareness about diabetes. And thank you so much. There are the 5 symptoms to keep in mind. So type 1 has weight loss. Type 2 has constant hunger. More.
Now, Bridget, I do want to ask you just 2 quick questions. One, why specifically blue? And then secondly, when I listen to these symptoms, the blurry vision, you're talking about being thirsty, having to go to the toilet a lot. Somebody might be having all these symptoms, but they just think it's normal. How do I know that this is out of the ordinary? I'm thirsty too much. I'm going to the toilet too much. I have blurry vision. I might just be thinking I'm tired. How do I know this is now the time for me to actually go and see a physician?
So that's why diabetes is so often undiagnosed, because these are easy symptoms to explain away. You can, as you said, you can be tired or maybe feeling a little fluey, or, oh, it's hot now, so I'm drinking more water. So it's difficult to know. So the best thing to do is just get a test. And the test is so simple. For diabetes, everyone should be getting a test once a year. It's a simple finger stick blood test. It takes less than 5 minutes. They literally just prick your finger with a tiny little needle, squeeze out a little drop of blood, and that test you can get at your local clinic or pharmacy. Clicks clinics are offering free testing in November, and that number will tell you either if your blood glucose is in the normal range, or if it's a little high and you need to come back again and get tested again, because sometimes it can be because of something that you just ate, that your blood glucose will be a bit higher, or if you need to see a doctor because you could be in the range of pre-diabetes or diabetes. But even if you are, so even if, like, that's the worst case scenario, right? You go get tested, they say, oh, you need to see your doctor, something could be wrong. But it's manageable. If you know about it, it's manageable. Knowledge is power. So then you can maybe change your diet a little bit, or lose a little weight if you need to, or start exercising more. And then it's a completely manageable condition. I've had type 1 diabetes for 15 years, and I'm in very good health.
That is
in blue. Sorry, blue.
Yes.
It's the global color for diabetes, and this blue circle is the symbol. So it's worldwide, people are wearing blue today.
You're referring to the fact that you've been living with type 1 diabetes for quite some time. Of suikerziekte, the old Afrikaans word. There's almost something that's a little confusing to me. Type 1 might have weight loss. Type 2, isn't there a weight
Yeah.
gain in type 2? And how do these types differ? And when do you have to start taking insulin?
Great question. Thank you so much. It's so funny because I live and work with diabetes all the time, and I forget, like, that's the best question. We should have started with that. So type 1 affects 10% of people. It's an autoimmune condition, which means you have a genetic predisposition, but it's not hereditary. It doesn't run in families. And you'll get very suddenly diagnosed. It used to be called juvenile diabetes because it was largely in children, but I was diagnosed when I was 25. You can be diagnosed at any age, and you immediately start taking insulin. So if I didn't take insulin, I would die. I have to take insulin every time I eat, and a second insulin to keep me stable in the background. Type 2 diabetes affects 90% of people. That's the one that's preventable if it's diagnosed early enough. Type 1 is not preventable. And type 2 is often found, it used to be called a lifestyle condition, but we're trying to move away from that because there's a lot of blame and shame attached to that. But it's often found in people who are carrying extra weight, particularly around the stomach, because that has an impact on your organs inside. I'm not a doctor, as you can tell. But carrying extra weight, not moving enough, sedentary lifestyle, not exercising, and eating the wrong kinds of food. So eating a lot of refined carbohydrates, lots of sugar, not a lot of fresh vegetables, green leafy vegetables that we should be. So type 2, if you're diagnosed early enough and you manage to lose weight and change your diet and exercise more, you can turn it around completely. If you're diagnosed later, then you'll need to take tablets and make the same changes. And eventually you will probably need to go onto insulin because it's a progressive condition. So the tablets work fine for the first couple of decades, perhaps, and then you need to go onto insulin. But insulin isn't as scary as it seems. It's the tiniest possible needle. It doesn't hurt, and it is magical. It's literally what's kept me alive for the last 15 years.
I like what you said, that it is manageable. You can make some lifestyle changes. But I also want to stretch the fact that it can have dire consequences if you actually do not treat it, if you do not acknowledge it, if you just ignore it. I'm saying that because I think people have become so accustomed to diabetes, especially, I mean, in our communities, you will just hear people saying, oh, my suiker is nou baie bietjie hoog, like it's just a normal thing. It's not really something that actually needs attention. But I mean, I've heard people's feet have been amputated, people have died. So it has dire consequences. Can you just talk to us about that?
Yeah, and that's the problem. Thank you for raising that. Because, so the first problem is that 1 in 2 people with diabetes in South Africa is undiagnosed because, as you said earlier, the symptoms are so easy to ignore. And people don't want to go for the test because ignorance is bliss. So if you don't know, then you don't have to change anything. So that's why I say it's manageable, because it is important to get tested. The trouble is that because it's a chronic condition, we're talking every day for the rest of your life. That's hard. That's hard from a mental health perspective. That's hard from a daily life perspective. That's hard from other people telling you what you should be eating all the time perspective. And so what often happens is that people just get hurtful and want to give up. And they're like, oh, my sugar's high, but that cake looks delicious, so can I have some anyway?
Yeah.
And that's okay if it's like once in a blue moon, or if you need a break. There's something called diabetes burnout, which is a version of depression and anxiety linked specifically to diabetes. But that's not okay all the time because, as you said, the complications, the long-term complications are severe. So the long-term complications, if you ignore your diabetes and your blood sugar and you have constantly high blood sugar, is amputation, as you said. And that comes because of nerve damage. Nerve damage usually shows up in the fingers and the toes. You'll feel like a tingling sensation and then a numbness. So it's easy for wounds that aren't getting supplied enough blood to then get out of hand, particularly on your feet, and that could lead to amputation. Blindness, because the same thing with the blood flow and nerves behind your eyes. Again, not a doctor, but blindness is one of the common symptoms. So blurry vision that then leads to diabetic retinopathy. And then kidney failure is another common one, and heart disease and heart failure is another one. So these are really serious and lead to terrible quality of life. So that's always my argument, is we should all be exercising more. We should all be eating green leafy vegetables and less sugar and less junk food and less refined carbs and we should all lose weight if we need to. People with diabetes just have an added incentive. It's really, really important that we do it now and that we don't do it in 10 years' time, because we can avoid the complications if you look after yourself. And then your life is better. You feel better. You don't have injuries. You don't have illnesses. You don't have complications. But it is, saying all that, I do recognize it's hard because it's every day. You never get a holiday from diabetes.
That is so important, what you just said. You never get a holiday from diabetes, but you do get an awareness day, and that is today. So you've been made aware. Thank you so much once again, Bridget McNulty. She is from Sweet Life Diabetes Community and, of course, from the SA Diabetes Advocacy. Thank you very much for the information and taking time to help us and, who knows, perhaps save a life today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.